Welcome, I'm Bev Adams. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Here's the card I'd like to show you today. It uses a stamp set from the Celebration second release. This release started February 16th and it runs through the end of March. Celebration products are available as supplies last, so don't wait till the last minute. Then there's this Blossoming Basket bundle. This bundle is available for a $100 purchase, but you do get both the stamp set and this wonderful dynamic embossing folder. This folder will also be available in the annual catalog. My card base is very vanilla, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. This could be scraps that are 3.5 inches square and 5/8 by 3 inches. I have a piece of crumb cake that's 5 by 3 3/4, and a piece of Calypso Coral that's 5 1/4 by 4. I will also be using some of the shimmery ribbon. This comes 3-pack, also a Celebration item. My inks are crumb cake. I will also be using the light and dark crumb cake Stampin' Blends and the light and dark Calypso Coral, the light Old Olive, and the light Daffodil Delight. Somebody was asking me about my cases. This is simply 4 of the acetate boxes. You just cut the flap off one end and assemble the boxes, and I've just got packing tape around holding them all together, and it's perfect. And I will be using the Pretty Label punch and the Stitched Shapes framelit, the number 1 oval. So I'm going to stamp my greeting. I'm using the You Are Loved, and I'm stamping that in crumb cake ink. And this is a 5/8 inch strip of Very Vanilla. Then I thought I would do an experiment, and it seems to have worked out very well. I'm going to be coloring with alcohol markers, so I know I should not use the Archival Gray or Basic Black ink. They always say to use Memento because it's a water-based ink. Well, so are all the rest of our inks, like crumb cake. I thought I would try it out, and I see no bleeding whatsoever from the Stampin' Blends. This is a large stamp, so you want to be sure and get all around. But it comes out beautifully. Then I'm going to color the flowers. I like to start my blends with the dark one. And I like to start coloring the parts that would be under. And these side flower, the center flower was easy for me to see what would be under. These side flowers are a little bit less clear, but I do want to have kind of some of the dark all the way around that flower. You really should do all your coloring on a small area, but I found that I could get away with coloring all 3 of the flowers at once. If you're unsure, you might want to just color 1 flower at a time. And I am using the bullet tip as opposed to the brush tip. And I am blending within each petal, each section. I like to do little circles, and that actually picks up some of the darker ink and mixes it with the lighter ink. I really should have a scrap of paper underneath. The Stampin' Blends do bleed through a little bit. I could, if I wanted to, actually just kind of fill in this whole flower except for the center, and then do my blending later. Maybe I'll try that and just kind of do a speed for the sake of the video. Now I'll switch to the bullet tip and do the blending. This is where I do the little circles because I don't want those hard lines within a petal. Hard lines are just fine between one petal and the other. Then I'm just using the light Old Olive, and I'm not really doing any blending on these. I'm just coloring. Then I'm using the light Crumb Cake. I am using the bullet tip for the handle of the basket. Switching to the dark Crumb Cake, and I'm going to be doing again the parts that are under here. So we'll have under on that curve under the flowers. There's an edge of this basket, so I want to go under the edge of the basket. And then I want to go emphasize the roundness, so I'm coloring kind of a broad side here. And maybe a little bit on the bottom. And then I will blend, and this is a larger area, so I can use the brush tip. Again, using that circular motion. And I just wanted to get the center of the flowers with yellow, Daffodil Delight. If you wanted to, you could also use a little bit of the color lifter just to highlight these places where the flowers curl a little bit. And these don't seem to go white right away. Takes a little bit of time to, I don't know, push the color somehow. Now I'd like to cut from the edge to the basket above the flowers, and I want to cut down to this smallest part here. So I have kind of two little flaps. Then I'll slip my framelit in, and I'm kind of curving the card just to slip those little flaps in and fit it so that your framelit is close to the top of the basket. And do check the bottom to see if that's where it's going where you want it. This is my third attempt to try and video this part, and I still have failed miserably. So this time I have not colored this piece. I hope you'll forgive me. I wanted to show you how I've got these pieces outside of the framelit. I want to cover it up with the clear plate, run it through the Big Shot. This part just comes out, and continue pushing it through. And then you're going to go ahead and snip around here. So if you cut too far in, like if you tried to trim this out here, it's hard to tell where that oval is going to be. Just leaving it there, I can go ahead and continue that curve and trim around the flower from here. If you cut it out before if you accidentally trim around those leaves too much, you can just cut yourself another oval and set it underneath, and it kind of covers up your oopsie there. you're going to line your strip up in the middle of this curved section here. Now just sponge around your greeting and sponge around the edges of your basket. The other part of that bundle is the folder. Again, this is one of those really thick folders. Bringing my Big Shot again, switching out the magnetic plate for the Big Shot platform that comes with your Big Shot. I'm going to look for the Stampin' Up! And the Sizzix logos, and I'm going to ink that part of the folder. And you don't want to have a heavy hand with it. Add that layer of crumb cake. And I find it's easiest to line up this side without the ink. You're going to have your platform, your folder, only one cutting pad, and that goes on top. Run that through the Big Shot. And that really highlights that basket weave. To clean the folder, just hold it under your sink for just a second. The ink runs right off and it's just good as new. I want to put a bow around here. So my friend made this bow maker. I love this bow maker, and if you would like to get one, she makes them and sells them, $10 US. You just put your pegs in for the size bow you want. Wrap the ribbon around, and the ribbon that goes under, you go over the top and through, and just tie a knot. And that makes beautiful bows every time. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive near the bottom on each side. I'm going to want this bow over to the side. That saves myself a few inches of the ribbon. I'm adhering this to my Calypso Coral with a little border around the edge. Adding my basket with dimensionals. Putting one dimensional on the outside edge and adhesive on the inside edge. Adhering this whole thing to my card base. And that's it. If you would like the directions for this project, come on over to bevadams.com. I will also have a link to all the products I used, and I would like to thank you very much for stopping by. Talk to you soon.